Welcome back to another episode of Dental Marketing Theory. I'm your host, Gary Bird. I'm the founder of SMC National, where we help you create, convert, and close more new patients so you can grow the way that you want.
It took me 3 years to get my kids a dental appointment. We moved. Nobody was open when I called. They didn't have online scheduling. And this was right before COVID. And then COVID happened, right?
Yeah.
It's this. And if I'm having a hard time scheduling appointments for my kids, I can't imagine. And I know I've worked in public health. I know what it's like for the rest of us. And so I think that's where DSOs specifically can come in and help make it easy for patients, or they can even do virtual care or take care outside of the four walls of the dental office. I'm a huge advocate for doing that. We're an Uber generation now, right? Like this is where we are. We want things to come to us. And if dental practices understand that they don't necessarily have to buy another practice or they don't have to build a practice, if they can go out and take the services to the patient in their workplace, in their homes, concierge dentistry, the bottom line just explodes. And virtual care, along with that as well, everything becomes more efficient from a business model, a clinical model perspective.
Yeah, and that's all done on the local level. Again, what you just described has to be done at the office, because what you experienced wasn't a brand issue. It was an operational issue at your local office level, and that can't be solved at the DSO level. That has to be solved at the office level. And it doesn't scale. It's not something that you just go, oh yeah, we have this system and it works 100% and just everybody copy it. It's like, no, it's each office. Some offices online scheduling kills. Other offices online scheduling, people don't use it. Some offices, everybody wants to call and talk to you. Other offices, they fill out forms and that forms work great. Other offices, yeah, exactly. There's all these, and I know that's going to change over time, right? That's going to also, it's not what works today. Isn't 10 years is going to be totally different. We're going to have everything's going to be, I know for larger treatment right now, the virtual consults absolutely kill because the patient's like, oh, I just want to talk to somebody. They get the basic questions answered and then you get them into the office and they trust you more. So all of it's ebb and flowing. So you have to continue to develop it. So I love that. I love this conversation. So walk me through when you're working with like tech companies. I'm actually really curious of that. Like, tell me like a cool story of something that you're working on right now and developing a brand around that.
Oh my gosh. I mean, so probably about 10 years ago is when I really got started in startups. They would contact me and they'd be like, they'd give me the same pitch every time. They'd say, Melissa, we love what you're doing. We know that hygiene and prevention is the future of the industry. So how can we create a product that speaks to hygienists, speaks to dentists, and how can we fast track that and have success? And I'm like, good luck with that. I don't know. But I would start to work with them and we'd formulate these messaging, these ways, because I'm a clinician, I know what we want to hear and I know what it takes to get brands on board. And so there's several brands that I've worked with, on DM Dental Staffing is a great tech company and they provide so many solutions and they've morphed and changed along the way. And I've been fortunate enough to be with them pretty much since the beginning and see the changing. They're much more than staffing. They now do all kinds of things for DSOs in the background. They employ all their temps as W-2. So it's anytime I see a new tech company coming into this space, it makes me almost giddy because I know that they're here. They're going to make change. They're going to make the clinical day more efficient for the provider, for the clinician. And then eventually they're all going to consolidate it, right? And one label. But there's a company I'm working with right now who they're not a tech company, but Gary, it's going to change everything. It's basically this sealant 2.0 that you put on the teeth and it prevents the teeth from being stained, plaque just falls off. Anyway, I'm clinical nerding out right now, but it is a fantastic. So we're working right now to kind of see what kind of messaging the dental industry is ready for in regards to that kind of a dental sealant. But that's a different conversation.
You've probably noticed this before, but this podcast is unsponsored. What that means is we don't get paid to do it, but we want to bring you the best information possible. So how do we make sure that this content stays on the air? We need you to like and subscribe. Wherever you're at, whatever you're listening on, just give us a thumbs up or subscribe, and that helps us out so much. I know that you probably haven't done it, so I'm just going to sit here and wait until you do. 95% of our listeners have not subscribed to our podcast, so go ahead and do it now. Don't make this awkward. All right, good. Back to the show.
Over half of your patients will not tell you that they need financing options to move forward. They will make up any other excuse to save themselves the embarrassment of saying, hey, I need to borrow money for this, or I don't know if I can be approved or not. What we believe is really important is to give the option to the patient and let them decide. So we think this belongs with every treatment plan that you present. And it might just go something as simple as this. Gary, the doctor recommended this treatment today. It's very important that you have this done for these health reasons. And the cost of it is going to be $4,000. Now, we're happy to accept cash. We can swipe a credit card. Or if you'd like to see what a monthly payment plan or payment option might look like, we work with this great company called iCreditWorks. It's the easiest thing in the world. All I have to do is send you a text. You click a link, and in less than a minute, you know how much you're pre-approved for, and you can see options. By the way, there's no hit to your credit score if you want to look at it. What would you like to do? If it's that simple with each patient, you're not trying to convince them, you're not trying to sell them a loan, but you're giving them an option. And what we see is a rise in increase of people that say, I do want to look at that. And maybe I can pay cash for this, but show me what it's like. Yeah. Let me see what those monthly payments look like. Yeah. I've got 3 kids.
I have some thoughts on that. But before I jump on those thoughts, I wanted to, I know we've talked about this before. I know a lot of offices have been promised things by financial folks in the industry where it's like, yeah, sign up for us, use this. And so there's hesitancy on that side. What makes this time different with you guys? Like, what's the thing that's like, hey, no, this is different? Like, how are you positioning on that? And then I want to come back to your the thing we were just talking about, because I got some good questions for you on that one.
Okay, yeah, that's great. Because there's affordability, but there's also flexibility that we haven't always considered in this thing. So let's definitely write that down. We can come back to it. The thing that we believe is fundamentally different is we are now presenting options and showing patients financing in a way that they want to see it. So if you think about an Amazon, think about an Amazon app, think about an American Airlines app and everything that's on your phone. We buy like crazy and schedule our lives through these mobile devices now. And why do we do that? We do it because it's private and it's secure, but we also have these optimized processes within a native mobile app, which is different than any website. If you've ever tried to navigate a website on your phone, it's a disaster of an experience. In fact, I know you fly a ton. I always fly American because their hub is in Dallas. I use that website to book my tickets and change my seats. And I love to change my seat to the exit row if I can the day before. But what I've noticed happens is an hour before the flight, or maybe it's 2 hours before a flight, I can't change my seat on the app anymore. So if I try, a dialog box pops up and it says, do you want to go to aa.com to change your seat? Yes or no? What do you think I clicked, Gary? I caught you mid-drink, so my timing's
So you have to go to the web browser. So if you want to change your seat, you're going to hit yes.
Yes or no. Yeah. So I don't. I hit no because I would rather stay sandwiched between potentially 2 big dudes in a middle seat than redirect to a browser on my phone, log in, I've got to find my password, I have to zoom in, zoom out, find the tiny seat, move around, and I just say, no, forget about it. I'm just going to, if I can't do it on this mobile, optimized app, then I'm not going to do it anywhere else. Well, it's the same way with what we created. The speed that they get a decision, the amount of people that we are approving, and not just approvals, but we're actually giving them in a meaningful amount so that they can afford their treatment. And that's probably worth considering too. The industry's got a little bit of a bad reputation for advertising a super high approval rate, which can be a very good thing. However, if we approve someone for $80 and they need 4,000, it's technically an approval, but it really hasn't
So
helped.
just so we're on the same
so
page,
that's a watch
because
out.
this is going to be what ends up getting clipped in the thing that people are going to be the most interested in. So there's some deceptive, imagine that, right? In the financial world, there's some deceptive financial metrics when people are like, hey, our approval rating is X. You have to ask more questions. Like, is that 100% of the treatment that's needed? Or is that just you throwing out random numbers, giving somebody $1 when they need 100?
That's right. There can be a difference in marketing and what's actuality in practice.
Dental insurance is just marketing. Rather than paying a big marketing bill, you're giving a discount on every treatment for this kind of insurance, and then you just have to be wise in the insurances that you pick. How do you feel about that approach?
It's 100% the truth. So one of my earlier PowerPoints had a slide that had the grass is green grass, not green grass. And it was really just about perception, because in dental insurance it's marketing. And if it's working out for you, it's great. Grass is green. If it's not working out for you, then you get real angry at it, right? But the fact is, you're giving up 20, 30, 40% of your fees for marketing because it's basic contract law. And I think this is what I talk about to take the emotion out is contract law. You signed a contract. The consideration is that I lower my fees. Their consideration is that they're going to send you new patients. That's the roles of the contract. So if they're not sending you new patients, then your contract, you're upside down. It's up to you to make a good business decision in that case. If they're sending you people, what are you getting mad about? You looked at the fees and they're sending you people. Now, if they're not sending you people, yeah, I'm getting mad now because here I am giving up all these fees and you're not doing your side of it, right? So if you look at it that way, yeah, it is marketing because they're putting butts in the seat. Now, you don't like the butts now because they're expensive butts,
yes,
right? But you sign that contract. So do you get a new contract? Do you make a decision? That's the business side of it, right? But what I say to people all the time is you are not stuck. It just feels like you're stuck, but it's just that the marketing that you could be doing to get unstuck is not easy. So you're not stuck. You just don't want to do the other side. And I get that. Marketing, it's
hard.
tough.
Yeah, no, there's so many. I have a little slide that we've started to use to kind of explain this. And I actually at Dykema, we were talking about the Dykema event before we hopped on here. We did like a workshop the day before for a lot of the dentists that were there. And we, one of the things I put up is I said, okay, from the time that the patient clicks on something about finding a dentist to the time they accept treatment, how many things can go wrong in that funnel? And I kind of broke down the funnel in there. And people are like 5 on the high side. People are like 20. And then I pull it up on the screen and I'm like, here's 100 things that we've documented that can go wrong that we have to check each one of them. And each of those have a family underneath it, anywhere from 5 to another 20 or 30 underneath it. So you're talking about hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pitfalls. And if you're not like fully dedicated to that and focused on it, it's super hard. Like it's really, really hard because things just dry up out of nowhere. Plus, not to mention, marketing is a live action competition. Like no one talks about that, right? Literally running ads and SEO is we're competing against everybody else, and our job is to be on top of them, or else we're below them. And if you're below them, you might not even get the opportunity. Yeah. So it's very, very complicated. Now, what the insurances have done a good job is they've kind of learned how to trick the patients into believing that their insurance is like real insurance, meaning I have health insurance, right? So if I fall right now, break my arm, I go to the doctor, pay my copay, and they make my arm right again. And I don't have to worry about like, it's all in the insurance, right? If I go out and drive my car and I hit something and I wreck my car, they're going to make my car whole. If I happen to damage someone else's property up to a certain dollar amount, that's covered too. My house burns down today, they replace my house. They put me in a hotel or a rental until my house is done being rebuilt. And dental insurance is not anywhere like near that. Like if all my teeth fall out right now, they're going to be like, hey, here's $2,000. You know what I mean? Like, here's $2,000. Hope good luck. And it's like, well, wait a second. This is $100,000 worth of treatment that I need. Sorry. So it's people don't, the patients don't really understand that. So it's almost like the patients have been hoodwinked a little bit and marketing's really hard. So then how do you kind of pick that road?
Well, we have to course correct. We have to do the whole conversations to get the point across. So I teach in my classes, it's not insurance, it's benefits, your yearly benefit. It's not your maximum, it's your benefit. And I've started teaching, last 2 years, I've started teaching when something goes wrong with the insurance, we need to put the blame or the onus where it belongs. So Mrs. Jones, I'm sorry that your employer selected a plan that doesn't cover this. Maybe if you go talk to your employer, it looks like your employer selected a plan that doesn't cover this particular crown. I'm disappointed too, because we see it covered in other plans. Maybe it's something to talk to your employer about. So I've been teaching, let's go back to the employer, because employers don't realize how bad of a plan they're picking. They're picking what the broker puts in front of them. I mean, I helped companies choose plans for years. When I was a manager, they usually go with the first thing that the broker sticks in front of them, and the broker sticks what's in front of them is what's going to get him or her the biggest commission. So of course there's no educated conversations going on there. So if you can show them, look, if you just opt for the implant option, or if you opt for clear aligners here, your life and your employees' lives are going to be a lot happier. You're not going to hear the complaints. And I was told I do work with some insurance carriers to help them understand the provider side of it. And I was told by a carrier a long time ago, we would absolutely provide a plan that covered clear aligners, adult ortho, implants, everything. It's just that the premium would not work for the average employer. And so it's the employer telling us to cheapen down to make the premiums more affordable. But see, that's a business. That's not emotion. That's a true business thing. And that's what I try to get doctors and managers to understand that.
From Mid-Atlantic reached out to me and it actually said perfect teeth. And I made a face and I was like, oh, it's a Medicaid DSO, when I had always heard the DSOs were like a bad word. And I was like, and I look them up on Glassdoor and these reviews are, atrocious. But I was like, all right, I want to see what it's like. So I went to the interview, met with their CEO at the time and their COO, and just kind of fell in love with the people and the culture. And yeah, that's how I got into DSOs.
Yeah. It's funny. I was told, because I used to work with, probably when we started, we had like 50 practices we worked with, but they were all single location. And all of them and all the people they worked with, so all of their consultants, everybody said, DSOs are the straight devil. Do not talk to them. Do not work with them. And I was just like, oh, okay, it must be like really bad. These must be like the worst people in the world. But then I started meeting some people in the DSO space and they weren't that bad. And then a lot of my single location clients started turning into groups. Now, a lot of them didn't call themselves DSOs because they wanted to recruit. But I thought that was so fascinating that like literally underneath my nose, as they were all telling me, no, this is the worst thing in the world, a lot of them were turning into groups and in essence, DSOs, they just didn't call themselves that. So I was with you. I was like, man, why do people hate this so much? And the basic thing that I learned was there's really, really good DSOs that do a great job. They take care of their team. They take care of their patients. And there's really bad DSOs that don't take care of their teams and don't take care of their patients. And there's really good single doctor locations with one owner doctor that do great work, take care of their team, take care of their patients. And then there's horrible single doctors that do horrible work and don't take care of their team. And it's just kind of like, that it's just like everything else. There's good and bad in both sides.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, honestly, I'm so glad I made the leap. Like, I love what I do. I love the DSO space. And, so many interesting people. And once you get into dental, you never leave. So
that's the other rule. So we were just talking beforehand. So I told Lori, because I had to tell everybody this, hey, I want you to share your story, but it's okay if you just say I accidentally ended up in the dental industry, because everybody accidentally ends up here. I'm here by accident. Lori's here by accident. So is everybody else I talk to who's not a doctor. And then, but the second rule is once you're in the dental industry, it doesn't let you leave. Like you can try if you want, but you always end up back in the dental industry.
You're not going anywhere.
You have too much knowledge, too much unique knowledge that just has to be applied to the dental industry. So now you're in the DSO space. Tell me a little bit about that journey of like developing that and building that out and kind of going down that road.
Sure. When I started with Mid-Atlantic, they had 17 offices, and they were just getting ready to buy Perfect Teeth. and that was going to be our only branded footprint. We bought 94 perfect teeth, so on top of the 17, and the 17 were all unbranded. They were meant to look in the Northeast, meant to look like standalone mom and pop shops. Like patients never knew that they were owned by a DSO. And then we bought perfect teeth, and I was so excited to have 94 more. We're growing. Literally 3 months later, we bought Dental One, which was 170 more locations, which is quite a roller coaster ride, especially for somebody who's new to the DSO space. So it was really a lot of like buckle in and just figure it out. Like you just got to figure it out. And then COVID hit, right? So we bought all these offices.
You bought 170 practices right before COVID?
Yeah. So I was like, hi, nice to meet you. Welcome to my team. It's so nice. 15 people, like handshake. And literally 2 days later, I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to, riff you.
And did you stay on? So you stayed on with the company though?
The whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just me and one other.
So you're managing 300, 400 locations, basically just you and maybe someone helping you. Like walk me through what that was like during COVID, and especially around this big treatment, because I work with a bunch of GP offices as well as like the specialty offices, but the specialty just like the GP at least could do emergencies and stuff like that and do root canals and fillings if they needed to, right? But the specialty offices, I can't even imagine what you were going through during that time.
It's the biggest thing for me getting into this role and thinking about how can I help this practice grow is we don't just want to grow for the sake of growing. We want to grow for the sake of, one, doing the right thing for our patient base here in St. George, Utah, and two, doing it in a sustainable way where this is not just something that we grow and then 2 years later it starts to fall apart.
Yeah.
We're trying to do it in a sustainable way where we can maintain the culture that's been built at our practice, start to expand that throughout our expanded geography here. And, if we do that within our own geography, then maybe we'll start to look at other places for expansion as well. But, we're not looking to quadruple our size overnight. We're looking to do it, I wouldn't say slow and steady, but in a managed way so that we can just continue to build the culture that we've been so successful at thus far.
Awesome. Now, I'm just sitting here listening to your story and thinking through this, and then also thinking through the dental component. And one thing that popped in my head instantly was I'm thinking about most dental practices when they grow. Usually, it has a dentist who is what I call a fractional CEO, right? And so this person's practicing, and then they're trying to be the CEO as well, and it's hard to do both of those things. And so at two practices, how did your partners or the people that you're working with come to the conclusion, you know what, we need to bring somebody from the outside in, which I think is genius. And I think that it'll put you guys on a great path. But that's strange. Like even a lot of the big DSOs now, they didn't even start that way. So walk me through that.
Yeah, it is. It's certainly a bit atypical. They have a lot of opportunities in this practice to do a bunch of different things. They really want to their credit, maintain what they've built and continue to get bigger. In order to do that, they were, like you said, one of the dentists in particular was basically the fractional CEO. He was spending 50% of his time doing CEO work and the other 100% of his time doing dentist work. And I intentionally said that's 150%. So, he was being a dentist all day long. And then at the end of the day, when he's exhausted after treating patients for 10 hours, he would start to think, okay, what do I need to do to run the business? And it was just unwieldy. It's just too much.
Hard.
I've gotten in and I'm working my more than a full-time job trying to run the business and just blown away of, I can't believe anyone was trying to do this and be a full-time dentist. It just was not manageable. So, we have challenges for sure. They're good challenges to have, but it really requires someone to be dedicated and focused on those challenges 100% of the time, day in, day out. I have a commitment that I'm in the office with the team 100% of the time. So between our two offices, I'm in one of them every day, working with the team, just shouldering up with them, learning from them. It's not a remote thing for me. It was one of the things that I wanted to do. And
Yeah.
it's so important to just be in the culture and be with people.
Yeah.
And it's made a big difference. I think it's helped me I've been here for 3 months. It's gotten me onboarded really quickly. It's helped me get into the issues quickly and really see where I can take this kind of eclectic, broad experience that I've had, bring it all together and say, seen a lot of different things in my career. I can pull from different experiences and really help make a difference. Like some of what I'm bringing to the practice is more of the CFO, look at the numbers, pull out trends, look at KPIs, just ways of looking at the practice in ways that they've never done before. And when I put numbers in front of them to a person, they're like, wow, this is pretty neat stuff. Never thought of it this way. And it's really been helpful from that perspective.
I actually got a death threat. So I know I really
I believe
piss people off. Yeah.
I when I got into dental, I was told, I worked with a bunch of single practitioner and some consultants, and they were all single practices. And they told me, Gary, DSOs are horrible. They're bad people. They're literally ruining it. They're the devil, basically. And so don't ever talk to them or do anything with them. And I was like, oh man, that sounds horrible. And then, obviously things grew and changed, and I met other people and expanded my opinion on that. But you were way ahead of the curve. And so now you're like, hey, I see what's happening 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road. Now, where are we going? I would love to hear your opinion on how things are forming now based on where we're currently at.
So COVID was a gift for me because I got involved with Colgate and Shine and, God, I wish I could remember. But, it's like, it was great because we talked about things like cytokine storms and why, and I got into chronic disease and I really got deeply into it. And then I found members at the Santa Fe group that were really extraordinary. And I got into a Mass General with Hugh Silk, who was really he was right there. He understood that if you take care of your teeth, the issues of chronic disease in later life really are diminished. I mean, it's quantifiable. And then it was obvious to me, the health system is $4 trillion. Dentistry is only $200 billion. You guys are going to have to integrate into the system because it costs too much not to. Because it's all driven by cost. It always has been. So if you take a look at Steve Thorne and what he's up to in the smaller for, the more dental medical, I spent time with Kaiser and I had a wonderful engagement with those guys for a while. And, I walk into a dental practice, there's a physician, a nurse practitioner, the phlebotomist is coming today. I mean, it's, okay. And now, yeah, so they don't have to be seen in the hospital. And there are... Kaiser Permanente had statistics on, type 2 diabetics that were just amazing in terms of the lower cost. And so it seems to me that dentistry is going to have to go there. Can't avoid it. And
so what does that mean though? So for someone like me that's a non-clinician and more viewing from the outside in, what does it mean go there? Does it mean these bigger medical groups are going to start rolling up DSOs and making them part of their organization and so that they can capture that information because they don't have a lot of it right now? Or what does that look like?
Let me see how much gossip I can tell you. So I love to talk to the people who are the switch throwers. So I've talked to major insurers, and one of them was speaking to me, maybe it was 2 years ago, about how do I build a DSO within my system, and how do I get hygiene to be part of my system. So they're now thinking, and they may be ahead of my thinking. They're there, and my CEO clients. One of my clients at one time was the healthcare executives. Well, it's all the CEOs of the Western hospitals, and I got to pick on them for a day. But they have called me about this as well. So the money goes where it makes itself, and where it makes itself. And the question is, well, how are we going to pay for this? I think Steve Thorne had the best answer for that. I don't know if he ever made this offer. Steve, if you're listening, I hope I'm not revealing anything. But when we were talking, I said, "How when you're building all this, how are you going to get paid?" He said, "I'll take a % of the savings." Oh, now that's an interesting driving force. Because if you're going to save billions, why not get a piece of that? So yeah, the money is going to be saved. The people are going to look. And I think that people have to get more educated. It's being done in many different places in many different ways. It was the same stage as early DSOs. It's all over the place. There isn't a consolidated model yet. And I don't have the answer. Kaiser does it one way, but they've captured the whole line because their insurance covers everything and all the patients, and they have hospitals and physicians. And Steve's doing it his way. And so I would spend time nosing around Steve for a while, and I have spent any time really in dentistry in the last 5 years. But I'm sure there are practices out there that are integrating.
Yeah.
And I'd go touch on that and see what they're up to.
Because most of the people who are listening to this podcast right now are not going to be your normal front desk people. They're not listening to this. So the main people who are listening to this are like operators, dentists, CEOs, the people that are more managing the practice higher up. So what can they expect if they send their people to this course?
Well, I think for starters, considering we are in the start of a new year, it's a good time to talk about things that might lose some mindfulness when you're in the day-to-day operations of a busy dental practice. First and foremost, the patient experience, right? Everything comes back to the patient experience, what kind of experience they're having in the practice. And so we're going to talk a lot about that. We're going to dive into what that looks like, how your team can really make sure that they are creating an outstanding patient experience in every single step throughout that appointment. We're going to talk about building trust with low trust patients, overcoming shoppers, handling tricky new patient questions during phone calls, and really making sure that team members feel confident and supported in converting those potential new patient calls.
So many people, I talk to thousands of dentists, and I've heard this over and over and over again. And I've worked with all these marketing companies. I've worked with 10 marketing companies. Nothing works. Marketing doesn't work. And what that usually tells me is that first thing that pops in my head is the phones and answering the phones, or your Google reviews aren't squared away, or you're not setting the table right for your team. And it's very interesting to me because there's actually an abundance of new patients. There's actually too many new patients. There's not enough hygienists and dentists right now to service all the new patients in every category. And so whether it's full arch or GP or ortho, there's so many opportunities. The problem is, and I understand the frustration the dentist must feel, is that they say, well, what's going on? Because I'm paying all this money for marketing and I'm not seeing my office grow. And it's usually as simple as answering your phone and just knowing what to say, when to say it. And so that's a lot of what you guys are going to be going over in this call. It's so exciting to me that you're opening this up, because normally we just do this for all of our clients, right? But this is something, I think is the first time outside of like a live event or something like that we're kind of opening it up to the world. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, it's very exciting. This is kind of an insight of similar to what our coaching sessions with our clients look like. We host coaching sessions on a regular basis with many, many, many of our clients. And each one's a little different, right? Because every team's needs are a little bit different, but it gives you kind of an idea of the things we're diving into in those coaching sessions. And you'll get to take away some of those tips, tricks, resources, and helpful mindfulness reminders to take back to your team.
Care provider, and also as an academic, it's incumbent upon me to open the eyes of my students on every platform that I possibly can. And I always share with them a little bit of a funny story. And I said, I worked for a complete idiot the first 4 years after I graduated. Everybody said, well, that's pretty harsh. I said, no, it's not. It was me. I had no business starting my own practice. Okay. I was not very sharp business-wise, and I will tell you that it took me a long time to get this under my wing. And there's so many other opportunities out there to provide a good lifestyle for my family and to do what I always wanted to do, and that's basically help patients. Okay. So with that said, there's all kinds of opportunities. Now, what is the potential? I honestly believe that all 70+ dental schools, if they had 10 weeks of opportunity for their fourth-year students alone, that's 70,000 weeks, because there's 7,000 students, okay, that are graduating annually at this point. And 30% of them are going into one major market right now, and that's the DSO. So why aren't we doing it? And UCLA was basically one of the very first schools to migrate through that rotation. And, I presently rotate our students through 22 different sites at UCLA. It was as high as 39 different sites at University of Michigan. And I know my cohort at University of Washington, she's got about 14 sites. So the bottom line is, yes, this can absolutely grow, and it needs to grow because dental education is not getting cheaper, and this program does not cost the school anything. And then the bottom line is it can actually make revenue for you to explore other opportunities and create community programs.
Got it. So let's fast forward 10 years. Let's say the ACEs, everything goes the way that you want it to go. We fast forward 10 years. Let's say all the dental schools cooperate, which I know is a big task because you're talking about, government entities in a lot of cases, but let's say that happens. And 10 years down the road, everybody's on the same page. What would this look like? What would ACEs look like? And how would this impact the general dental community as a whole? What would that look like in your vision?
Because I stated two things in the mission statement, that's sustainability and accountability, we would then look at these organizations and say, are they truly delivering a service that is worthy for the patient? And I expect better patient outcomes because of accountability. There was a time now, because these big structured organizations are happening, they now have compliance teams, they now have quality assurance teams. So it's all about providing another set of eyes and ears towards the experience for the student, which ultimately resonates with the care given to the patient that they're treating at these organizations. So in essence, we become an internal HR department. But I'm not going to stop with dentistry. It is my dream to see an interprofessional education model occur, and that is send nurse practitioners with dental students, with social workers to help patients navigate their health in a more predictable fashion, because a lot of people out there do not understand what is available to them.
So most people, when they think about marketing, they think about the top of the funnel. And when they think of the financing, they think of the bottom of the funnel, like kind of like this throwaway thing, like, yeah, who cares? But how does Sunbit kind of think through this?
Yeah, it's a great question. It all starts from the bottom of the funnel in a funny way, because you think about, what is my case acceptance, right? Most offices are thinking about case acceptance. You could probably give me the stats as well as anyone. I think the last thing I saw from dental economics was that for existing patients, it's about 50% of patients accept treatment. For new patients, it's less. It's 1 in 4, 25%, right? Which means, if I'm in office and I kind of dig into my case acceptance, I start to understand that there's a problem. But by the way, we saw the same thing in automotive. 40 to 50% of people decline their recommended service work. They say, I can drive with a broken AC. So in dental, we have similar stats. Now, to understand what's going on, though, we have to look all the way up at the top of the funnel. First of all, you have 50% case acceptance for existing patients, but how many of those existing patients fail to schedule a treatment or fail to schedule an appointment because they know that they're going to come in and have costs? So you lose even more at the top of the funnel. And I think when we think about, the top of the funnel, it's how do we optimize for the bottom of the funnel, right? How do we, when we bring someone in, change their mindset before they even come in and sit in the chair? So good financing, it doesn't have to be Sunbit. I think biased, Sunbit is very good at this, but letting a patient know before they even step into the office that they're approved for X amount of money, and letting the staff know at the same time, because that changes the dynamic once they're in the office, makes the patient more confident, makes the staff more likely to recommend the treatment confidently. And then at checkout, it becomes a no-brainer. Of course, I'm going to take care of the $1,200 dental needs that I have, because I have $3,000 to split it up over time. So it starts at the bottom of the funnel, but you have to basically present financing earlier on. We knew there was an imperative to build something that approves nearly everybody and does it quickly and easily. Because if I'm worried that 50% of the time this application isn't going to work, it's no better than what I already do today. So we built something that doesn't require the office to staple together a long-term treatment plan or to bring in multiple financing options. We built one simple, easy-to-use solution that approves nearly everybody. That's core to our value proposition. Over 85% approval. And there's a kind of saying in sports that if you have two quarterbacks, you have no quarterback. We look at it the same way with financing, right? If you're trying to kind of in-house plus some other financing plus this, then you're kind of patching together your own solutions instead of using one easy-to-use technology.
I think the fact that we didn't come from tech and that we didn't know exactly how much work would go into it, I think that's one of the biggest reasons why we were like, okay, we can do this because we know the industry in and out. We do this day to day. Like, we've got this.
Yes. And I think you alluded correctly where you're like, okay, well, you have to build it for the dentist, for the hygienist, for the assistant, for the front office, right? For all the people, all the dental professionals. Well, that's one of the reasons that what we found was lacking is even though there are great software out there, but nobody truly spoke to the end user. They didn't understand. We thought that they didn't really understand how it feels like to be the receptionist up front.
What is the future from your guys' perspective in the next year, 2 years, 3 years down the road that is going to, so people can understand this is the direction that practice management software is going from your perspective?
So from our perspective, I mean, right, we can't speak for the whole industry, but the future is something we are so excited about because having come from So my background is an MBA, and a lot of my friends are also startup founders or working in VC. And you hear about a lot of innovations that are happening across the board, no matter what industry it's in. And I think for us in the practice management space, that makes it extremely exciting because that's all of the things that we can incorporate, right? So you have AI companies coming on to X-rays. You have, everything that can make
more automation.
Yes. And that will make the experience for the end user better. So in our perspective, we think that one of the biggest reasons why the App Store, the Apple App Store and the Android Google Play Store, those have done phenomenally well for getting users for Android and Apple because the end user can do pretty much whatever they want to do with the app that they choose on their preferred platform, whether it's Apple or Android. And
that allows for customization,
exactly.
Right? I mean, let's say, for instance, you're going to put what most people need in there, but you cannot claim to be able to put everything everybody needs in there. And to claim such is not really accurate. So we believe, and Gary, the fact that we came from dental offices and you're talking about where people felt stuck and they're upset, and we get it because that's exactly what happens. So that's something we don't want to do. So we will make whatever makes sense for us to make in-house, right?
Yeah, some things are just faster to build yourself if it's not very complicated, right?
But we will partner definitely with other companies because it just makes sense to partner with other companies. Because let's say, for instance, you just have something that's cutting edge technology. Well, if you have cutting edge technology, Tiffany wants to use it in her office. By the time it takes for any company to build it, it's going to be very long, right? You want it now. So it doesn't make sense to do everything yourself. You have to be able to figure out what it is and what actually makes sense.
Well, what most people don't realize is that the practice management softwares out there, a lot of them are prohibiting technology growth in the dental space because of exactly what you're talking about, where if I have the best widget in the world is going to change the dental industry and I build it, and then I go, well, I need to integrate with the practice management softwares. I have to pay them money to integrate, and it's a lot, and I have to go to each one of them, right, individually, and go to this one and this one and this one and this one and this one, or they charge the end user, right? They charge the dentist. Well, we'll integrate with them, but it's $500 a month, and it's like it doesn't make. If I have 10 practices, I'm not going to pay $5,000 a month just so I can have access to my own information to move it over to this platform. That doesn't make sense, right? And so and it's a small industry. It's not a huge industry. There's 200,000 dentists, not even that many offices. So there's not the economy of scale there for me to build that widget. So then people leave and they go to other industries. So something has to change on that front for technology to really move in the dental industry. Is that kind of how you see it as well?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think
especially this day and age, Gary, I mean, right? It doesn't make sense. I mean, if it's something where you want to use something, we have to be able to go, we like to be able, if it's cutting edge, sure, you want it to be used by your end users. It just makes sense. That's how you move things forward. So,
and I think there's value to be said about deep diving too. Like if you're a company and imaging and imaging AI is all you do, you spend every hour of that day innovating in that space, then I mean, I think our
practice
team
management software is not going to be able to catch up with that.
It's different.
It doesn't. To claim that you can do it all at the same level and be the best at everything. We agree with.
I've heard people say, I wish there was just a practice management software that did it all, and then it's like, name me a company in any industry that is a do everything all in one. That's good.
Yes, agree.
Well, I think that's just the evolution of technology and like human knowledge, right? Because at one point, one human could know everything that there could be to know, what flowers to eat, what plants to eat, and like where to walk. And that's all the knowledge that there was. One person could have all of that. But I think in this day and age, like you have specialists for a reason because one human cannot have all of the knowledge of humankind.
Yeah, you can't even have all the knowledge of a dental practice. Dental practice, right? It's just too many people, too many data points.